Hi, everybody. Well, almost everybody. Well, some of you. Hi, friends. I want to talk to you about something that I'm not actually an expert in, but then that's never stopped me before. It's something that's brought to my attention because of the acuity of my ears every day in Japan. And I want to talk to you about it because I'm fairly certain that what I'm hearing is an indication that people are hurting themselves. And so I want to say to my friends back home, don't hurt yourselves. And even more importantly, teach your kids, or in the case of many of my friends by now, your grandkids not to do this to themselves. I want to talk to you about walking and running, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into a long, drawn out kinesthetic analysis talking about musculature and so on. I'm just going to talk in a general sense about running. And I think I'm going to need some help from one of my friends in the audience here. One of my shoes. Now, should I take a dirty old sneaker into the kitchen, or should I take a slipper? Or maybe I should just use my hand on the table to demonstrate what I want to talk about. I think that's what I'll do. I think I'll leave you guys alone, and I think I'll get this over with rather quickly by saying this. If when you walk down the street it sounds like this, in a small but succinct way, you're hurting yourself. Now, I know that that's not avoidable for women in heels, but what can you do about that? They want to wear heels. They have stupid men around them who think that they should wear heels, and so they wear heels. But let's just put that on the side, along with things like smoking and eating 3 hamburgers a day. They're hurting themselves. It's just common sense. But now we'll talk a little bit more about why, which most of you probably could figure out if you haven't thought about this before. If you look at your cat or your dog, or you look at any hoofed animal, you'll notice that the animal does not have a foot like we do. The animal is walking on its toes. Okay? Now, the more contacts you have with an appendage, the more the force is dispersed, right? So if I take one of my knuckles and I hit a wall with it, I'm going to do much more damage to my hand than if I slap the wall like this. In my hand, there are multiple bones, and in my fingers, there are multiple bones. All of those different bones, separated by small spaces in between which there are ligaments and cartilage, is area over which the pressure can be dispersed. When you bang your heel against the ground, there's one bone there. And so the shock goes up through that heel bone into your leg and into your knees and into your back. What inspired me just now to talk about this is I heard a child running down the street and it just sounded like somebody slapping somebody's ass. That's not what it should sound like when you run. Your toes should be contacting the ground, not your heel first, right? You should be landing on your toes when you're running. It's faster that way anyway. If you watch a track meet or you watch the Olympics, you will see what I learned when I was a runner, or even before that, but it's more succinct when you're putting on running flats to run on the team. All the cleats are in the front. There are none in the back. In fact, there's no support in the back because if you want to go fast, you don't land on your heel. You land on your toes. And if you take this idea to its extreme and you think about runners like Zola Budd of South Africa who used to run barefoot, you realize that you have more to dig into the pavement or the dirt with if your toes are making contact with loose earth, right? If you had one pad in the front of your foot, one appendage, one flat appendage like a flipper, you wouldn't get anywhere, right? The reason we have toes is they disperse force, they distribute weight, and they keep us balanced while standing up. But also, when we dig into the ground to move forward, there's more of them, like hands digging into soil. Okay? It's painful for me to listen to people walk in Japan. Besides the women in their heels, which again, that's a foregone conclusion of stupidity. If I were a parent, I would never let a child of mine have heels in the house. I don't care what you call me. I don't care if I'm too old and stodgy and conservative. Health comes first, and love can govern health. Acquiescence is not love. It's whimsy and it's cowardice. Okay. Anyway, So yes, I'd be a bit of a draconian father. I would say you can buy what you want with your money, but you can't keep those in this house because I wouldn't have you damage your health, right? Another place that it's really obvious that people don't know how to walk in some places is the train station. In the train station, you're surrounded by a multitude of people walking up the stairs. Now here's something I just wish I could say to the Japanese with love. Why are you doing this? They pound on the step with the whole of their foot. They don't walk up on the ball of their feet the way I do, silently. They bang. They bang as if they're taking all of the pain and frustration and stress out of their lives on that structure. Which, by the way, is another subject for discussion. I live in an old wooden house, and the kid who lives upstairs does the same thing. The whole house shakes when he goes up the stairs. It's the most ridiculous, hilarious, confusing, and curious thing I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, because you don't hear him yelling or getting upset about anything. You just hear him pounding on the stairs every day when he goes up the stairs, right? And you would think in a place like Japan, right, where earthquakes rattle the houses several times a year, you wouldn't want to rattle the house every day when you go up the stairs. But that's what you hear when you go up the staircase in Japan. And I sometimes am so beside myself with curiosity and confusion about this, and in some cases frustration, because it's almost like saying, I'm here, look at me, here I am, don't you know I'm here? I mean, that's what I think of when people make unnecessary noise. Probably what he's thinking right now, listening to me make this video. And I don't know why people want to be heard, why they want to bang, why they want to make noise. And the only thing I can think of is, this is just cultural habit. You see everybody else doing something from infancy, you're going to do it too, because you don't know any better, right? So that's what I want to say to all of you. Now, I can add a little science to this, or at least the expertise of science to this, by telling you that I heard a Neil deGrasse Tyson Sports Star Talk episode a few months ago. He calls it Star Talk Sports Edition, where he had a Harvard kinesiologist and anatomist on the show, and she was talking about the same thing. But I've been thinking about this for 40 years. Okay, it's why sometimes when I go out for a walk, I walk on my toes. And it's why I've begun wearing flats again, like slip-on Crocs that look like loafers. They're rubberized, though. I don't wear my running shoes all the time, which for years I thought was necessary. In fact, in Korea, I had lifters in my shoes to make the walking even more comfortable, and it made me a little taller, so that a girlfriend of mine who was almost the same height was now a little smaller, and I think she liked that. But anyway, this PhD, this expert in the body, was saying how she tells all her grandkids not to buy running shoes with the air in the back. She said the younger you are, the flatter your shoes should be, because the longer period you have in which to train the muscles of your feet to properly develop so that you're meant to walk more on the ball of your foot than on the heel. And you know that you're walking better if even when you do walk on your heel, because when we're not running, we do kind of have to step down with our heel. I often try to step down on my midsole, but it's very difficult and you look funny. You shouldn't hear anything. Your footfall should not be heard for blocks and blocks. Okay? Besides the fact that it just sounds like, look at me, look at me. People don't think about that because we long ago normalized heels and wooden-soled shoes. But every time I hear a woman go past my house in the morning, and I hear many because they're on their way to work, I just think, have you ever thought about how stupid you sound? Right? The entire neighborhood hears only you walking down the street, right? With a pretty good echo. I mean, we're not talking about the pitter-patter of a cat who jumps off of a windowsill. We're talking about a knocking sound. You know, I hate hearing my own footsteps because it tells me I'm announcing to the world that I'm here. I don't want to do that unless I'm on camera. So the point of all this, if you haven't gotten it already, is someday you don't want to wind up getting knee replacements and hip replacements. And this is exactly why you end up needing them. Unless you're overweight for 2/3 of your life, right? And you're doing something stupid. I don't know what that would be. I mean, I had a friend in high school who played the guitar, and he used to jump on his knees on stage, right? long before he decided to start wearing knee pads. But you should never do anything like that, right? Your feet are not hammers, right? They're foot pads, they're landing pads, right? They are the contact with the earth that your leg needs to get you to move forward, right? They're not noisemakers. They're not sexual attention tools for you to attract people, right? That's supposed to come with your intellect and then maybe your appearance. So I almost wish somebody would walk by so you'd understand what I'm talking about. Like, especially kids who are light and young and healthy and their musculature and their skeletal structure is young. There's no reason they should be slapping their feet against the ground, right? They should be running on their toes and achieving high speed so that they can excite themselves and everyone around them even more, because life's exciting for kids, right? What is this flat pedaling, this flat-footed pounding that people are engaged in? I don't know, but they're not learning how to walk here in Japan. And I just wanted to tell you back home, there's a better way to walk and run. And remember, when you're going out to buy that next pair of shoes, think twice about not getting something filled with air and rubber on the back, right? Which just weakens your legs. I used to think it was absolutely necessary. I used to think that's what was between me and damaged knees and a back later. And as long as you're still young, especially, it's not that. It's developing the musculature of your insole and your arch and your ankle and heel and your leg, right? But yeah, and I long ago also decided no boss is ever going to tell me to wear anything, let alone shoes, right? I come to work dressed neat and presentable, right? Suits, that's a whole other subject for embarrassment. Oh my God, why do people want to dress like that? You live once. What if society said to put a barrel around you with suspenders? Would you do that too? Alrighty, happy walking.